My name is Noah. I'm the founder of Poolfish, and in this video, I'm going to show you how you can use the Poolfish calculator to estimate fees that you could make on providing liquidity to different pools and kind of help you make a position and figure out what the ranges should be. And in the process, I'll kind of share what liquidity providing even is. So strap on your seatbelts. Let's jump into this. This is going to be exciting because this is something that you can use in your investing to help you make money in the crypto world. Okay, so first thing you'll see when you come to the Poolfish website is you have these different calculators here. These are different calculators for the different dexes that we support. You know, Uniswap is probably one of the main ones. They have the main volume. Some of these different dexes support different chains. Some of them support multiple chains. So like on Uniswap, you can then look through and select the chain that you're interested in. You can select the tokens that you're interested in. Let's do ETH USDC, and it will automatically select the pool that has the most volume in it. These are different fee tiers, and so there's different pools for how much a swapper has to pay. So kind of how this works in a pool is you have your two tokens, ETH USDC. A swapper will come with their ETH, and they'll then swap for USDC. When they do that, they'll have to pay this fee, 0.05% of their swap amount or 1% of their swap amount. Different pools, just based on how risky they are or how blue chip they are, will kind of trend towards a certain fee amount. The more risky ones will probably have these higher fees like the 1%, and then your more blue chip will have these smaller fees. And kind of the reason for that is that a liquidity provider is taking more risk providing liquidity for a more risky pool, and so in those cases their fees will be higher to kind of reward them for that. So let's just jump into this ETH USDC pool. You click calculate. And what Poolfish is actually doing here is it's pulling a lot of historic data to then figure out how much fees could you make from creating a position in this pool, and you can kind of play around with different scenarios. The first thing you'll see here is this deposit amount. So you can actually select, maybe you have $5,000 to invest, and so you can put that in there, and obviously the more money that you invest, the more fees that you're going to get from your investment. So you can kind of decide how much money you're thinking, and that's kind of a first step. So with this setup currently, we could make about $5 every day, and that ends up being a 39% APR, which is pretty sweet. Now that APR is only if everything kind of stays the same. The price and the amount of volume, everything kind of stays the same. Obviously, markets don't stay the same, and it will change over time, and so you might have to end your position, recreate a new position. And so a lot of times with these positions is you want to try to think, how long am I going to be able to keep this position up for? And you can kind of create your strategy around that. Like, do you want to have a position for 7 days, or do you want to have a more passive position that you don't have to watch as much? And so maybe then you would have a wider range. You'll notice that there's this price range here with a min and a max price. So this is a big part of V3 that Uniswap built and came out, which is an added efficiency to providing liquidity on the blockchain. And so kind of what this is doing is you're only providing your liquidity within this range. So if the price goes outside this range, your liquidity won't be used anymore. And this is an efficiency because now instead of your liquidity having to be spread among kind of infinity of all the possible price ranges, now your liquidity is only used on this range. And all the other liquidity providers in this pool, they also have their own specific ranges that their liquidity is provided to. And so you can make this as tight as you want around the current price. And so you can kind of see here, it shows the percentage above or below the current price that you're at. And so like if you're wanting to be more passive, you're probably going to want to make this range bigger so that the price stays within. Now you'll notice that means your fees are less because you now are kind of spreading your liquidity across more of a range. Now, if I make this tighter, let's do something like really, really tight. Now you can see our estimated fees are around $30 every 24 hours because we've made it so tight. And another cool tool I like that the Poolfish calculator has here is this time frame window. So this will kind of change how many days you're seeing in this window of the previous price. But also what it's doing is it's only pulling that data, that historic data, to make these estimated fees. So in the previous 7 days, you would have made $43 with this specific position set up. And then, If you change it to a month's time, it'd be that much, or 3 months time, it'd be that much. And so I like to use this for, if maybe you only want to set a range over a 7-day period, well, maybe you can get a better idea of what that possibly will look like if you looked at the previous 7 days and use that data as kind of your guide to see, what's possible. And at the end of the day, this is just a calculator of kind of an estimated fee. Like, this isn't a for sure thing. Like, it's all based on real data that happened in the past. And who knows what's going to happen in the future? Like, very likely USDC ETH is going to have a different amount of volume, a different prices and price targets that will happen throughout it. Now, if you scroll down below the calculator, we have this cool little table that shows some top positions that are in this pool. These are actually real positions that are live right now. And if it has a green bubble on the side, that means it's an in-range position, like they're gaining fees right now. And if it's not, then that means that it's out of range. So currently this position is not gaining fees. But we just have like a couple different columns here that kind of just give you an idea of what are people doing in this pool. This return on investment shows you, the percentage return on investment that they have with their position currently. On the far right, it shows you how old is their position. Some of these are very new currently. Obviously, you can then kind of click some of these buttons up here to change the filtering. Like this position is 1,000 days old, so that's a pretty old one. You can even filter by the amount of liquidity, so we can see some really big positions. This one has 7 million. And then this column right here is a really good one to see, like, what is their APY based on the fees that are getting from this position. And then the other really cool thing that you can actually do is hit this apply button on the edge, and it will actually set your min price and your max price to be exactly the same as what that position was set to. And then you can kind of get an idea of how much fees you'd be able to make within different time frames. So kind of cool. So this feature here is actually a pro feature. So you might not see this unless you're paying for our pro plan, but it's a kind of cool little widget that compares this pool on this DEX to other DEXs. So you can see on some different chains and different DEXs, you could maybe get more fees, make more money on those DEXs. So this has a 570% difference right now. Obviously this is always changing, but then you can just click in on that position and it will open it up in the calculator on that DEX or that chain instead. Okay, so let's jump over to another pool to take a look. So you hit that change pool. Let's go to Arbitrum and let's go to a token I like, which is Pendle. So you can actually type in token names or just copy and paste in an address. And so we'll select that, click calculate. And so now we can jump in and see what are some different position scenarios that we can do for Pendle. This is obviously a little bit more volatile. There's a little bit more things going on. So maybe we could make more money on a position like this. It's like, say, the last 7 days. Let's try to get up close onto this. So we're like 11% below, 6% above. We could maybe make $73 if we put 5,000, but maybe we don't want to put that much because it's kind of risky. So with $1,000 put into this pool, we could make around 15 bucks. And so the calculator will show you for this range, how much money you'll have to put in to the Pendle token, and then how much money we'll put into the ETH token. One of the reasons I really like liquidity providing is that you can create different strategies that are on different risk spectrums. Like, you can make your range super wide. You might not make as much fees, but you can make it more safe for you to gain some fees. You not have to watch it as much, or you can make some positions that are very tight around where maybe you have a very high opinion that one token is going to do better than the other, and you can set your position up for that. So let's say you are very bullish Pendle. So what you could do is you could make your range so that it goes up higher on the Pendle side, and then make it really tight on the ETH side. And so what you can actually see here is that now we're holding a lot more Pendle in our position and a lot less ETH. And so now as we go into the future and ETH is trading for more Pendle, you're going to be swapping out your Pendle for ETH and slowly selling it over time within your position. But since you have a lot more Pendle to start with, kind of have a good starting place for Pendle to do well and be bullish on Pendle, and you'll gain fees throughout that. Now you'll notice this little chart here, this liquidity position. It also, will show you your range that you have, but also what it's doing is showing the liquidity that's currently in the pool. It's kind of showing where have other liquidity providers put their liquidity in this pool. Because if you remember, you're splitting all the fees with all the other liquidity providers. And so you're kind of competing with them because you have to split fees with them. And so kind of another thing you can think about is, where, is it maybe the price is going to go somewhere where there's not as much liquidity. You can put your liquidity there and gain more of the fees because it's not as competitive there. Sometimes you can find a pool where it just doesn't have great liquidity, and maybe it has like a down spot where the price is. And so you can then provide liquidity there and gain more fees that way. On the green, you'll kind of see here, that is where you're going to provide liquidity. And so for an example, there's a little bit less liquidity here than there is here. So maybe making a position where you get really tight around that spot where there's less liquidity could potentially be a good kind of strategy for you to win more of the fees. Once you've created your position, you have your range how you want it, you have your amount how you want it, you can then click this create position on Uniswap or whatever DEX you're on, and it will actually open up the DEX and it will fill in the price points that you had from Poolfish with the correct pool. And now you can just go ahead, fill in the deposit amounts and add your liquidity to create your position. So hopefully it makes it an easy way to go from kind of strategizing what you're wanting to do, understanding the amount of fees you can make, to actually making that position. So I hope this video was helpful. If you have any questions, reply below in the video and I'd be glad to come back and answer those. And let me know if you have any feedback of different things with liquidity providing that you'd like to see or you'd like me to explain next. Otherwise, I'll see you in another video.